These new Skull Servant cards suck. Well, let me be a little more specific. In a vacuum, these are really good. Well, one of them's very good. But in looking at a bigger picture, I don't really see how this is going to help further the Skull Servant game plan. When I'm recording this, they revealed two Skull Servant cards from Alliance Insight tonight, one being Moisa White, and the other one being White Master. Let me start with White Master. White Master is a continuous spell who gives your king piercing battle damage, which is neat. Its second effect is once per turn, you can target a Skull Servant or king or whatever in your graveyard, send a Skull Servant card from your deck to the graveyard, and revive that targeted monster. Now, that is actually really good, because your king comes back and you replace it with another card that could potentially activate and send more Skull Servants to the graveyard. It's just a free king, right? Well, it also has the restriction that you can only summon zombie monsters for the rest of the turn. And I'll touch on that part in a second, because I'm also going to go over Moisa White right now. Level 1, Dark Zombie, 300, 200, you know the drill with Skull Servant. Its effects are, of course, it's treated as Skull Servant while in the graveyard, and if it's normal or special summoned, you can add one Skull Servant card from your deck to your hand. And you can't summon except for zombies for the rest of the turn. But it has another effect. Once during your main phase, you can normal summon a zombie monster that's level 4 or lower from your hand that, in addition to your normal summon. It's a zombie double summon. That's good. Why are these cards bad? Why do I think these cards are bad? I really think the zombie summon restriction is absolutely just not going to let these cards see the kind of play that they need to. Mind you, this is coming from me. I have a very weird deck philosophy with how I like to build decks, and I mostly like to build decks completely pure as I can get. And this is my current Skull Servant deck. Yes, it's 58 cards. I highly advocate you to run any amount of cards that works for you. In fact, I had a worse time at 55 cards than I did at 58, so I had to adjust accordingly. But as you can see from all of the monsters here, that all of them in the main deck relatively fit the theme of what Skull Servants are trying to do. They're zombies, they either send to the graveyard, or they revive from the graveyard. And Ash Blossoms there is because I legitimately have to put something in to stop my opponent that's a hand trap. But even then, you know, she's a level 3 zombie and a tuner, so she can still help out in the deck. No, see, this is as pure of a Skull Servant variant that you can get while still being able to play against the opponent, because Skull Servants themselves don't have any extra deck cards besides a couple fusions that have Skull Servant as material and are kinda sucky. And I mean, come on, you're playing Skull Servants. Your objective of the deck is not to be flooding the board with extra deck boss monsters and swinging. You're playing to get king on the board and kill your opponent in like one hit, which is why most of these extra deck monsters here either allow you to live for a little bit longer, can send a card from the graveyard, clear your opponent's field, or, you know, just do whatever. But they're not doing your job for you in killing the opponent. They'll help out. They might even assist in the swinging. But king is the main focus of the deck. If you take notice of most of these cards in this extra deck, what do you see? That's right. Only like 2 of them are zombie monsters. Your entire extra deck toolbox in this specific deck of pure Skull Servant is shut off from you, besides Vampire Sucker, who, if you revive a card, you draw a card. That does nothing unless you draw into like a Raigeki or something. And Vampire Fascinator, which is a change of heart that takes 3 monsters and a tribute to pull off. Do you see why I don't think these new Skull Servant cards are good? I've looked over the zombie link monsters and the zombie synchro monsters that these little ones could fill in the spot of, and they do not do the same things as the cards currently in the extra deck. The closest like analog I could probably get is the level 10 Shiranui synchro Bingus that I don't want to run, and he still like requires you to banish monsters and stuff in order to pop some cards, not all. Now, to a certain extent, I do have to appreciate that these monsters' good effects stop you from summoning other than zombies for the rest of the turn, only because I despise the big extra deck boss monsters like Access Code and whatever like that, overtaking what a cool deck is supposed to do. But killing the, I guess, even at rogue potential like extra deck boss monsters, because the pros aren't playing Access Code or whatever. If you're going after like relatively top level cards and you're kicking me out of using my little like helpers for the main deck, then I legitimately don't think I'm going to play these cards. Like, the only benefit that something like Moisa White has over a Goblindberg is that it's like a level 1 zombie and it counts as Skull Servant in the graveyard. Like, if I'm locking myself into only playing Skull Servants for the rest of the turn and completely shutting out my extra deck toolbox, then why would I just not run like Goblindberg or Double Summon itself? Like, I don't understand why I would pigeonhole myself into something that will easily just get clapped by most decks. Like, especially with Dimensional Shifter running around still, you can't always rely on the Skull Servant part of the deck to be progressing, even at a slow pace. And even, like, you're playing Skull Servants, you don't want to draw a Skull Servant, you don't want to draw Lady in White, because those are less cards that you'll see in your hand that you're wanting to pitch out of the deck. The only time where, like, drawing a Skull Servant into your hand has been, like, a good thing is if you can normal summon it and link into Relinquished Anima and maybe do something. Maybe you have a White Lord in your hand. Send it, pitch 2 from your top of the deck, and just pray that you have something there that can activate. But that's the, like, final last-ditch effort. You don't always want to rely on the Skull Servant part of the deck always working. That's never going to happen. Just sitting and thinking about it, White Master is... I mean, yeah, you can use it whenever you've done all your summoning and whatever. You can go and start your Skull Servant plays after Black Rosing the field and play White Master from your hand. Like, I get that, but that is that just kind of like a win more card? Like, you're probably already going to have whatever you need in your graveyard to summon back a king that's in there, or summon a king from your deck and just keep going. Like, I don't see the importance of it. And Moiso White, it's supposed to help start your turn. You can't make the same argument for Moiso White that you can White Master, that you can just do it at the end of your turn, because the end of your turn would be after you've played like one Foolish Burial, or like if you somehow already had a monster from a previous turn, you get to like Monster Gate it, or you reasoning something out of the deck and then get like one or two other activations and no other monster on your field, and then you play Moiso White, and then you're locked into zombies. And you never had like the opportunity to go into the extra deck anyways, aside from maybe a Link Summon of Anima or something. I don't know. You can't make the same argument for both. And I don't know, man. It's not as bad as that one Suship card I ranted about God knows how long ago. But these are the first misses of the growing Skull Servant deck that I've seen come out, which is extremely sad after White Baking fixed the deck and White Lord just made it good. I don't know. I need to go to sleep.